Qatar in F123 is one of the more enjoyable circuits to drive in the whole game. It features a really unusual layout with many corners requiring very little to no braking or downshifting. There are only really a small handful of corners that really slow you down much. The rest of the lap is incredibly fast and flowing, making it extremely fun to drive around. This unusual circuit, I think, will quickly become a fan favourite in F123. Now, Qatar really rewards a higher downforce car setup due to the medium speed nature of almost every corner. Higher downforce will give you much more lateral grip mid-corner, as well as allowing you to carry higher speed on the entry to each turn. And this will ultimately result in much faster overall lap times than opting for a lower downforce approach. Go with 41 on the front wing and 37 on the rear. For the transmission setup, I've opted for 55% on throttle and 52% off throttle. There aren't too many really heavy traction zones, as there are only really one or two really slow corners. However, you still require good traction capabilities, as many of the corners will see you accelerating pretty hard, and early on in the corner as well, while still applying some steering lock. Now for the suspension geometry, I've ripped our setup right out of F122's playbook with a right, left approach, and this helps with traction and straight line speed. For the suspension setup, things are pretty extreme. I've maxed out our suspension stiffness, which will help the front end respond quickly when throwing your car into corners at high speed. Then I've gone for a rear suspension setup of 14, which is still pretty stiff for an F123 car setup. For the anti-roll bars, things are still stiff at 12 and 4, while the ride height is low to medium at 34 and 38. This approach will really help reduce understeer, and with the track being so flat and smooth, we can get away with a really stiff setup approach. I've gone with the brake bias setup that is a touch more rearwards due to the very short braking zones. Go with 54% on the brake bias and 100% on the brake pressure. And for the tyres, I've opted for a slightly higher than normal approach of 22.9 psi in both front tyres and 20.4 psi in both rears. Tyre wear isn't too harsh around Losail, and this relatively normal approach helps keep tyre temperatures right in their working window. And that completes our F123 Losail car setup. As I mentioned, this track is incredibly fun to drive. I'd only ever really raced this track in the MotoGP games before, so I was surprised by just how enjoyable this track is in an F1 car. This car setup really focuses on performance through the medium and fast corners, but I've lowered the aero setup enough to make overtaking a real possibility. And this is a pretty fun track and setup to drive during a race. Let me know if you enjoy this track as well in F123 and whether you're looking forward to seeing the cars return there this season. Also, I'm releasing daily F123 car setup videos, and I've got a lot more F123 content planned as well, such as how-to guides and those sort of things. So if you like that sort of thing, consider subscribing, and hit that like button as well if you found this setup helpful. But for now, enjoy this setup and I'll see you on track.